Hello and welcome to Lab Number 1 Guide Base. I'm your host Tom from MagnaCAD, and we're going to go through this lab step by step as a typical user would, or somebody new to IronCAD. Just to give you an idea of the new lab format, we're telling you what software we're using, what version, what topic. This 3D design could be 2D drafting, sheet metal design, multi-physics, whatever that may be. In this box here explains you can use this lab in either IronCAD or INOVATE, those two products. Okay, and PULSAR sanction means that this is legitimately part of the MagnaCAD certification program. So this lab does fall into that official training solution we have, or we're continuing to work in. So that being said, let's go down, and I'm gonna go through the lab with you. You can refer back to this video, so in case you get into any trouble, you can basically come to this video and get bailed out a little bit. Okay, this page just basically tells you what's in the lab, what the objective is, if there's any companion resources available with it. Okay, and then the legend here, you'll see these icons in the tutorial. You might want to print this out, to have as reference, even if you're doing it online. And you'll see that when we use these mouse icons, inside the box or inside the mouse is the handle it's referring to. Okay, so with that being said, let's get started. All right, so we started IronCAD, and the first thing we come up with is this dialog. And you have a tab here where you can get some additional training you need. I always recommend the self-paced training is a really good place to start, because it's very similar to what we're doing here. Excuse me. Excuse me. So basically we have three environments. All right, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of this. We have three environments. We have the 3D design environment, where we do all our 3D design, whether it's assemblies, sheet metal, weldments, you name it, it's all done in one file. That's relatively unique to IronCAD. I believe, I may be wrong, but I think CATIA works that way. Somebody, if you know the answer to that, let me know. But as far as I know, IronCAD's the only one will do all that design in one scene. And then we have actually two drafting environments. The drawing environment is IronCAD's native 2D drafting that's associative. They're both associative to the 3D models. This is very similar to what you would see in competitive CAD products, detailing. And the draft product is a plugin basically from our CASR partnership with IronCAD. And this mimics more or less AutoCAD. So if you're familiar with AutoCAD and rather use this version, you have the option. They do have some unique abilities on their own. I won't get in on this in this video, maybe in another lab, but just wanted to let you know. So basically, me personally, not a big AutoCAD fan, so I just usually stick to these two environments, design my 3D here and create my 2D drawings here. Okay, that being said, we're going to start a new file, right? So let's start a new scene. Okay, and we have our ribbon bar up here, a catalog down here, and what it says is from the shapes catalog, let's drag and extrude up. So I'm going to get right into it, right? So from the shapes catalog down here, there's a whole bunch. We'll click on that, and what is it? We're going to pull out our extrude and just drag it into the scene. Okay, it says click on the block once. So what that basically is it drills you down to the level, the feature level, and if you expand here, you'll see the block here. Okay, and then it says right click on any red handle and set edit size box. And then we're going to enter these values as shown in the PDF. So we're going to go 3.5, 2, and 3/8. Say OK. Okay, let's scroll down. Now it wants us to drag another extrude shape to this back point here. So we're going to take that and drag it right to the back. Okay. And now we're going to resize it using Smart Snap. So we're going to grab this handle, and while dragging it, hold the Shift key. And then we're just going to come down here and snap to that edge and let go of your mouse first and then the Shift key. And what that does is it perfectly aligns the back edge. Okay, let's zoom in a little bit. By the way, how I did that is just double click your middle mouse button. It's like a fit command. Okay, so we did that. And now it's telling on the opposite handle enter 1.5. So let's get back to where we were. We drag this handle, so the opposite handle will just enter 1.25. You can see this value field will follow your mouse, and you can just hit enter. Okay, and we're done. And then we'll do the same on the top. Just left click it and add 1.75, enter. Okay, very easy, right? Let's scroll down to the next one here. Symmetrical sizing about the center of a block. In this new release, 2021, the IronCAD has made this extremely easy to do now, to do symmetrical resizing. Before, when you click the handle, you see you only got one side. Just Control Z, you get back. But now, if you right click and drag, it automatically will resize it symmetrically, as you can see. Once you let go, you can put the proper value in of 2.375 and enter. So very easy, again, to manipulate shapes. There's no need to really sketch all this. It's what drives me nuts in a lot of other products is why do I have to sketch squares all the time and circles? And, you know, you can see we have a vast array of common shapes here that we can use and bypass all that. So getting off onto a tangent here. Let's get back to this, modeling the front boss. We're going to drag a third extrude right to that midpoint over here. So we're going to do that right there. And when you get that bright green dot, you release. Okay. And now, what is it? Now, LHS, if you go back to the legend, means left hold Shift key. Okay. So they want you to, where are we going to shift to the bottom face. So we're taking the top handle, oh no, sorry, the bottom handle, and holding the Shift key, snap to this top face. Remember, release the mouse and then the Shift key. That way, if you by accident do this and you drag here and you let go of the Shift key, and you might accidentally pull that out without knowing, and you're not perfectly lined up. So it's a good practice to always, when you're using Smart Snap, release the mouse first. That way there's no problem. Okay. And now on this handle, they want to make the width of this block 3/16. So we'll click, instead of clicking from this side, because if you click on this side of the handle, it's going to move in this direction from left to right. So we'll put here 3/16. IronCAD can use decimals, fractions, you name it, whatever you want. Okay, move on to the next page. We're going to resize symmetrically again to make this 1 1/8. So I'm going to right click and drag this handle. You can drag it in any direction, it doesn't really matter. Enter the value. And what this tip is telling you is that if you don't like using right click to resize, okay, you can basically by default it's like set like this. So if you click this, the red and yellow, look, you can use the left click now to do it, and it will stay like that permanently. Okay. If you click both of them, then it goes back to being one-sided. Okay. But let's go back to the old approach. And what happens is when you enter, you right click and drag and do the symmetrical option. The next time it automatically sets it to symmetrical. Okay. Hope that makes sense. That's what that's kind of explaining there. Now we want to add like a rounded portion And you know, the purpose of this lab is to show you how we can build models without drawing a single piece of geometry. Okay. There'll be a lab following this up. We'll show the way we would do this in what I call a SOLIDWORKS mode, or a traditional mode, where everything's done in the same process as you would in those products. But for this lab, we're doing everything drag and drop, no sketching, no nothing. We're just pulling dimensions out and resizing it. I mean, pulling features out and resizing. So for here, we want to pull out a cylinder, and they want to drag it right to that back edge back there. So we go to cylinder and drag it right to the back. Get that green dot. I'll get to this in a minute. That's what this explains, this whole page. And what they want to do is shift this key and smart snap, holding the shift key smart to that edge, which really aligns it with the front face. And then when they want to do the same thing with the diameter, and snap to here. So what that did was we snapped the front to this front face and the diameter to this face, so to get this perfect arc here. Okay. Going back to this here, dynamic view sensitivity. Let's just do a save here quick. Okay. Just save it as part 1. Okay. So what this is explaining is unique to IronCAD is, depending on how you're looking at your model, is how when you drag features out, they're going to orientate. So for instance, let me just delete this. Being that we're looking more, this face, and this face are more in our field of view. When we drag the cylinder to an edge, it knows to put that cylinder along that same field of view, right? But if you were to drag, now we're looking at these faces more not perpendicularly, and we drag that to that same point, see, the cylinder reorientates itself. So it's like having a little extra designer sitting on your shoulder looking at what you're doing. Okay. And the other thing it does is, the more zoomed in you are. So for instance, if I drag a cylinder to this corner, comes in very large. If you zoom in a little bit and drag the same cylinder to that corner, it asks you, do you want to resize it? You say okay, and it comes in smaller. Alright, so if you're working in very tight spots, that's the way you're looking at it, and how far you're zoomed in is going to get a little added benefits. Okay, so I'm going to put that cylinder back into there. I'm going to snap it to the front face. You can hit the edge, the face if you get selected. Any of these, just because they all share the same face. Okay. We did that. At this point, we want to review. We have 3 blocks in a cylinder, which we do. We have block 1, block 2, block 3, and a cylinder. You notice here, this is what IronCAD's unique ability is called innovative part design. There's no constraints or planes we're dealing with. They're inherent in the background and everything. But IronCAD realizes we don't really need them to simply create these parts. They're there if you want to access them, but we won't get into that at the moment. You can see it is a global system. But so let's move on. Okay, now the objective here is to put a negative volume in the back here. So they want to drag another cut extrude this time. Another extrude, cut extrude to that back edge. So here it is. I'm going to drag that back there. Okay. And now it wants to, the rear handle, they want a smart snap to the back edge. So take this, drag and hold so it snaps to that back edge. Did I get it? Yeah. Okay, there we got it. Sometimes you may have to rotate your view a little bit. You can see the block back there. Okay. Then it wants it to be 3/4 wide, right? So to get back to this block, you can either click once and twice to get back to that feature, or you could just click it here. so it's easier for you. Then click on this, and set it 5, and it's set. Okay, and then it wants the next step to snap to this bottom face. The bottom handle, hold the shift key, snap to that face. Okay, so if we rotate it, you can see everything's nice and clean. Okay, by the way, middle mouse button rotates your view. Okay, also, if you see it's not rotating really the way you want it, see how it's rotating where my mouse is? If you go over an edge or something and use the middle mouse button, it'll rotate around that edge as well. Pick this edge. Okay, you see how that works, right? So it's very, again, you should probably update the view sensitivity modeling portion, but it also works that way. And a quick tutorial on panning is the middle mouse button with everything. So middle mouse button down with a shift key is a pan, and with a control key is a zoom, and without any key is a rotate. Okay, quick lesson there. If you hit F1, there's a function key list. Just do this here. Here, that explains all the keys here if you need it with the 3-button mouse and everything. Okay, getting off on a tangent again. I'm trying to keep this short, but sometimes I run amok. All right, so we go back to here. Now we got to resize the back to 1 5/8. So I'm just going to click it here. I'm going to right click and drag, put 1.625 like that. And again, it doesn't matter if you're destroying a model because IronCAD doesn't care. When you right click, you see here we're cutting off what we want. It doesn't matter. You're going to enter the value anyway, right? So there you go. And now we're going to add a notch to this front base. We want to put a little notch to that. So we're going to drag one to that. Cut, what do we cut extrude, right? To the front point here. That looks right. Then on the rear handle, it says enter 116. So we'll click the rear handle, 116, enter, and we have that little notch. By the way, to get out of this, just click anywhere in the background. It clears the selection. Okay. Should have said that earlier, but better late than never. Now what we're going to do is basically they want this distance, the bottom edge here, to be a certain distance off the center point of the radius. That's kind of what the goal is here, right? So what they say is, all right, let's click this, right? Take this bottom handle using Smart Snap. What key is that? No, it's the shift key. Okay, hold the shift key and snap to that tangency. We could snap to the center or the tangency. Well, let's snap to the center. Let go. But now they want you to add 9/16 to the end of that value. So how you do that is you hit the right arrow key. That takes you to the end of the equation and make it say plus 9/16 or decimal, whatever you want to use. Hit enter and you're done. So what we basically did is made this ledge here 9/16 from the center of the thing. No dimensions, no dimensional constraints or anything. We just snap and add. That was very simple. Okay, this is explaining how you can do calculations. It's very easy. Just hit the arrow key while you're in the equation. When it's highlighted blue, hit the right arrow key. Okay, at this point our part looks good here, and here it's saying, you know, you see, if you zoom in here a little bit, you see this, our radius here is a little jagged, right? A little faceted. I like to smooth that out. It doesn't, mathematically doesn't mean anything. It's just a visual thing. So if you want to work on a nicer, cleaner look, visibility of it, you basically select the part once anywhere, right? And when it highlights cyan, that means you have the part selected, as you can see in the scene browser. Okay. And what we want to do is go to our properties browser here. Let's drag this here. Okay. And got a search browser too. That's really used when you're doing large assemblies. But if we go to the properties browser, you see down here we have something called surface smoothness. You can set these defaults in your options. Apparently I have it set to 30. I happen to like using 100. Some people use 70, but 100 doesn't seem to harm my system. It's good to note that the higher you make this number, it's going to add more resources, put more burden on your computer resources. That's why we won't go 1,000. 70, 100 is good. It's a good mix, and you see it smooths out a little nicer. Again, it's just a visual thing. Okay, this yellow tip here is basically explaining how we got to, when there's no assemblies in the scene, which we do not have. We just have one part in the scene. When you click once, it highlights cyan. That means you have the part selected. If you click again on something, it means we have the IntelliShape selected. IntelliShape is an IronCAD term for a feature, because you can assign it intelligence to these features by right-clicking on them. Won't get into that in this lab, be in another lab. But we call features IntelliShapes, okay? And then if you click again somewhere, you're clicking the face. All right, so I'll go through the process again. 1 click, 2 click, 3 click. All right, part, feature, face. And you got options, handles on faces as well, which we won't get into either. Just trying to keep it a little simple here for the first lab. Okay. Now we're going back. We're going to add a hole to the center of this boss. Just drag a cylinder into the center point. Okay, and then release. So we're going to drag that should really be a cut cylinder. That should be a cut cylinder. So let's fix that in the lab. And we're going to drag that right to the center point. Now we have a cylinder there. And we're going to edit the diameter. So the diameter handles, let's see if you can see this here, right, is any one of these handles here, the left, length or width. You see the little W, L. So they are associated to the diameter of that cut cylinder. So you could pick any one of these to achieve this ½ inch. So we can just click one, put ½ inch, enter, and done. Okay. And this is just telling you, a lot of people, you could just leave this alone, right? So the hole's cutting through, it's not affecting anything. But some people, they got their things. Sometimes they want to keep this a little cleaner, so you can just use Smart Snap and snap to the back edge, just so maybe in the future if you add anything in here, it won't be cutting through. Alright, let's double click the middle mouse button and we're done there. Now we're going to add some blends to the base. Okay. So how we do that is we go to our feature tab. Okay, and hit the blend edges tool. There's multiple ways to do this. I'm just showing you one way here in this lab. By default it's set for constant, so just make sure that's set, because we just want a constant radius here, and the value we want here is 1/4 inch. When we have that, see the geometry is highlighted. So whatever geometry we pick gets added to this list. I'm just going to rotate this view and click that back edge. Okay. That sounds good. That's alright. We can hit the check mark or enter, either way, whichever you prefer. You can see the blend shows up there, right? Now we realized, well, we really want to add the same radius to this edge and this edge. You could go in and do the blend tool again and have two blends here, two blend features. Or just come in here on this blend, right click on and say edit its features, and then just, when you see it, adds it to the geometry here. Say okay. So we have all those blends in basically one blend feature. Okay, that's what all of this is explaining. Okay. What this tip is telling you is you may want these blends to be bigger than these or whatever. You can do that within a single blend command. So if you go back Actually, if you can click the feature here, IntelliShape, I say, or 2-click here, whichever you get comfortable. And you can basically come around and say, alright, I want this blend to be highlighted and say 1/2 inch. Okay, so you can independently change these and then say okay. Okay, we'll put it back to 1/4 inch because we really don't want to change it. Just click on the background to clear our selection. Now we're going to add these little round bosses to each corner here that has a hole in it. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to drag a cylinder to the set point, right here, to that center point of the radius. Let go. And then we want a diameter of 1/4 inch. Hit enter. And then we want a height of an 1 inch. So we click that. So we make it 1 inch. And we have our little boss. We'll zoom in a little bit more. Okay. Now we want to use a cut cylinder for the hole. Cut cylinder. We drag it right to the center. And the diameter is going to be 0.187. Whoops. Yeah. Okay. And that's good. Okay, it goes all the way through. Some people may say, let's keep it clean. I'm not one of them. I'm just showing it to you. We're going to snap to the bottom if you want. It's optional. But now we want to copy this boss to the center point of this radius. Right? So I show that here. Okay, this using the tribal. So what you want to do is you want to click the cylinder first. You can either click it here, hold the shift key, which is also a multiple select tool, click the hole, or you can click it here, whichever is easier. It's good to note that you want to click it in the order of the add material first, remove material second, right? Cylinder, H cylinder. H means for hole. It's a prefix. So we're going to add another cylinder and remove another hole cylinder. So we get the tribal. And what we do with the tribal is on the outer handle here, we left click, and what it does is highlights this yellow, meaning it's locked the axis temporarily. We can rotate about it, or we can move along it so it won't waver off that axis. But what we're going to do now here is on the right handle, we're going to right click and drag to the center, and when we get that center green dot over there, you see the edge highlights as well. Release the mouse and say link here. You could just say OK to these. So now you see we have the icons have changed, and now when you pick a point, it highlights purple by default. So if we change one, they will both update. Okay, and we'll go back to, I forgot what it was, 0.25. Okay, at this point, our part is done. Now, something I didn't see in the tutorial is renaming this part. Let's do a save first. Okay. Okay. And we want to name this part the guide base. So, typical Windows, just click it twice and give it a name. Enter. And that's it. Alright, I hope this works. If you have any feedback on these videos, please let us know. We're always looking to improve them. Alright, good luck to becoming an IronCAD power user.